It's me, I'm back again. Yes, with another podcast from our vault, initially recorded in 2016 when I had hair, possibly. It's 2004's House of Flying Daggers. It's an audio podcast, so again, there's no video, but it's still really entertaining. House of Flying Daggers is a film I really, really love. If you've not seen it, watch it and then listen to this podcast. Check out everything else in our YouTube channel and on iTunes and Android as well. There's so much to listen to. You stay safe and we'll be back very soon.
And welcome back to the Film Reel Cast. Have you ever seen a dagger fly? I've seen a house fly. I've seen a rubber band. Stu.
I thought you were going to say, have you ever seen a superfly?
No, that's the song from Dumbo. That's the song from Dumbo. As we talk, House of Flying Daggers.
Yes, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. I understand you've been under the surgical knife, as they say. Not a flying knife, just a normal one.
Normal knife. I've had something cut from this big, not growth, something like a cyst underneath my skin and my nose. It kept on getting swollen. You've seen it yourself. It made me even more attractive. So they decided to take it out. How's your arm?
Not bad. We are podcasting with a man with his face cut open and another man with a fractured arm. So we should be doing this from the ER department or the A&E department, as they say. It's not too bad. It's really painful, but it is what it is, really. My better half is always amused when I'm in pain, so it's kind of keeping her amused when there's nothing on TV. So it's all good. Yeah. So House of the Flying Daggers. Oh, before we start that, the long-awaited Arrow and Flash are back.
I've seen. We've reviewed the first episodes back in I think January. So what's going to be is we'll have to wait an extra week to review the second episode, and what we'll probably do then is also review episode 1 and 2 of the new superhero. I forgot the name now. I can't believe it. That's the one, Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think it's on the 25th of this month, or it could be the 16th. Daredevil's out on Netflix as well.
Oh, we'll be reviewing that as well, all in our Flarrow. Originally Flash and Arrow, but it seems to be Flarrow seems to be a catch-all now for superhero television, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's turned into a bit of a beast itself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and arguably, the numbers say some weeks it's just as popular, if not more, than certain films we do, which is amazing.
Yeah, when we're smashing out the Flarrow podcast, I mean, we get in excess of, to say 20,000 downloads a month. So, I mean, which is absolutely incredible. Unless it's our partners just downloading it 10,000 times each. You never know, do you?
I've got a confession to make. You go to my iTunes. There's 10,000 same episodes of Flower, episode 9. Unfortunately,
yeah.
My
I have to make the same confession as well. I've got to be honest.
See, if I ever did YouTube, I'd just watch it and repeat it all the time just to get my views up.
And just post how.
The sad thing is, you know, that's one. You and I are sad enough to do that, and two, people actually do that as well. So there we go.
Well, yeah, I've no doubt. But yeah, so House of Flying Daggers. I mean, this was a film I watched when it first came out back in 2004. And because the Dragon, which I believe will be coming out tonight, which is a Thursday, that we thought we'd just carry it on and just do something different. As in a proper subtitled Mandarin Hong Kong film. Again, it's martial arts. And you've never seen this before, so it's interesting. We've not actually spoken about this up until now. So whatever you say about the film, I haven't got a clue. But I'm really, really looking forward to hearing your thoughts. I mean, as I say, it's come out in 2004, and it was part of the kind of when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out. And it was quite a different genre of martial arts films because for once, rather than people kind of just fighting on the ground and things, you actually saw people flying through the air, didn't you? Which
you did.
You either kind of loved it or loathed it. I mean, what's your thoughts on this kind of choreography on a martial arts?
The choreography I really like. I really like most of the fight scenes. I thought they were really, really good. Bit like in the same guise Into the Dragon. Not that you can really compare them because they're so different. The fight scenes are, but the fight scenes were never like in some like action films. Even from the edges, they never felt the same. They were all quite different. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't just a rehash of punch here, punch there, same shots. They were all different. The scenery was different. The scenery is one of the most beautiful things about this film. You know, I imagine a lot of it. It looks like anyway. A lot of it was shot on location, and it all looked lovely.
Yeah, the scenery is almost another part of this, like another actor in this film, isn't it? It's like a.
Oh, that was
It's the
deep.
wallpaper.
That was deep. That was deep, Stu.
Yeah, it's true though. It's like another. It's such an important part of this film. It's another wallpaper of this film, and it's you see it, and sometimes you're drawn to the scenery in the background, the colours, especially when she does the dance of echoes, and again when you're in the forest, different kind of browns from the trees, and then you've got the snow, and when they're in the bamboo forest, the greens are so vibrant there,
Yeah.
and you can almost just focus on the background and take it in. And forget what's actually going on the screen. Not that what's actually happening. The acting's bad because it's very good, but it's just so breathtaking. And they do mix the scenery up so much, don't they? Which I like in this film.
Absolutely, and each of the fight scenes had a completely different scenery. But you know, a lot of the time, like the one in the snow, obviously you had the one you know on the dancing stage, and stuff. It was very much not quite like Street Fighter, but you know everyone all the different fights set had their own different stage as well, which was
Yeah,
which I thought was very nice.
yeah. It was just it was very good. So I was kind of getting the general vibe of the way this could be going. So
Well, could you?
which
Could
is
you?
quite
Could
good.
you? Could you? You may or may
I
not be
don't know. I don't
surprised.
know. You fooled me before, but I mean, it stars. I've got to pronounce these names now. I'm going to do it really bad. The first one's Andy Lau, which is easy to pronounce. He plays like the captain. He's got Kateshi Kanshiro, or Kanshiro, um, who plays like the other love interest. He plays Jin. And you got, how would you pronounce hers? Ziji Zhang. I probably don't
ZG
know.
Zhang. Yep, yep. Well, Zhang Zi. It's got here in the brackets, and I don't know.
All right.
We've chastised
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, we've ripped it apart. But it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, she's absolutely stunning all the way through this, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's a incredibly attractive woman, which obviously helps when you're watching a film like this. But all the characters, and again the costumes as well that go with each character, and again that changes throughout the film. I mean, the costumes are absolutely fantastic, especially in the Dance of Echoes. Again, everyone's colours are so vibrant. The backgrounds, the props as well. It's like a piece of art, isn't it, in itself?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The costumes. I mean, specifically, I remember my mum and dad having a go at me of having long sleeves. Yeah, but this takes it to a different level, mate. I mean, but for the dance, but yeah, the costumes are really, really good. I don't know too much about the history of the place, but this is very. I mean, obviously, it's set in the past. It's very easy to tell. I can't say whether they've done their research or not. Whether it's correct, but as you said, it does look very, very colourful and very, very vibrant.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking when it was meant to be set, and it's got 859 AD in the Tang
Okay,
dynasty. That's when it's meant to be set.
a long time ago.
Yeah, but I mean, I can read that, but again, my ignorance, that doesn't really mean a lot to me. It just means that it's a really, really old. It's set a long, long, long way back. But as I say, my history, I'm pretty ignorant, especially when it comes to the Tang dynasty. I don't specialise in that subject. If Graham was here, he does.
He does absolutely, absolutely. He does, doesn't he?
Yeah. But so it starts off with Jin. He's basically the story of this. It's a very simple plot, but not to take anything away from the film. It's evolved. It ends up evolving around into a love story. You've got the House of the Flying Daggers, who's against the government regime, who are basically giving to the rich and stealing from the poor. And the House of Flying Daggers is like a rebel cell, so to speak, to fight against the government to take them down.
So we're looking at in a very base level, Robin Hood and his merry men, almost kind of thing.
Mixed with Pretty Woman love story.
Pretty, except there's no shop involved.
No, thankfully.
You missed out on this. You work on bonuses, don't you? Yeah.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. Look at these badass sleeves I've got from another shop. Yes.
So it starts with her May. That's the character's name, and it's got with Jin, and he's in this. It's kind of like a brothel, isn't it? But it's not a brothel as we know it these days, of women kind of scantily clad, walking around doing sexual favors for people. They're more kind of dancing, and he's drunk, and he speaks to the madam, and says, "I want something special," and he says he's got someone who's very special. This is Bring Her On, and that's when we first meet May to dance, and she says there's one thing, she's very beautiful, but she's blind, and I mean her acting through this film. I mean, looking at the internet, doing a bit of research, she actually spent time and lived with a blind girl. For a long period of time, just to study how blind people act and how they, when they're kind of moving objects and trying to deal with objects and situations of their body language. And she's got it off to such a fine art. I've never seen a film with anyone playing a blind person better than she's done it.
You really, I mean, you do believe she's blind. It was very well done. I mean, all credit to her. Obviously, she's not blind. She had to act blind, clearly. And I think that is a lot... Well, as with all things, it's a lot easier to say than do. But I'd imagine the idea of you and me thinking, I can act blind. I don't think we could. I don't think we could. And she's clearly done her research here. And obviously, later on in the film, we find out things. But I mean, the key part of this film, especially for the first 2/3, I'd say, you had to believe that she was blind. And able to pull these moves off.
I thought she was, because she did it so well. And as you say, if you had to act blind for the day, you just couldn't do it. I mean, she constantly has. She keeps up this expression of kind of constant surprise and exploring with her hands and things like that. When she's going through the fields and the forests, and when she's fighting, she doesn't wince when people are attacking her. She constantly has that look, that vacant kind of expression on her face that she can't see, and she manages to keep that up.
Absolutely.
That's just incredible, and that's kind of done. A lot of that's done in one take as well.
See, I was going to ask her, how many takes did that take? You know, you blink, then you can't do it. And if that, I mean, and if that's the case, that's even more amazing than I thought.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, especially in the fighting scenes, to maintain it all the way through.
Absolutely.
It just goes to show kind of what some of these people do with regard to method acting to take on the role. But one of the most amazing parts in any film I've watched, for several different reasons, is when she does the Dance of Echoes. And as you said earlier, she's got these long sleeves and this amazing dress that she's wearing. And what they do is they flick these beans at these drums, which are formed around in virtually a circle, and she has to flick the sleeve of her gown against each drum as the bean hits it. And it's kind of like the martial arts kind of kata, that when you go through several different moves, she does that, and she does it so well, and it's such an amazing scene for anyone who hasn't seen this film and can't be bothered to sit and watch all of it. It's just worth YouTubing. I think it's called The Dance of Echoes and House of Flying Daggers, because it's such an amazing scene. I mean, what did you think of this?
Yeah, it was one of the best scenes in the film. I think the film started off really, really, really strong, and this was I think one of the best scenes, and it was good that it happened. It was quite early on. You had this blind character. She was very, very intriguing, and this whole set piece, so to speak, really, really, I think captivated you. Fair enough. I think both you and I watched the dubbed version of it, and I do think you always lose so much.
No, I didn't watch the dub version.
I watched the dub version
on Blu-ray. I got it in. It was in Mandarin in subtitles.
See, I watched the dub version because I can't read. So yeah, but it's interesting because I think the point I was going to make is even with dubbed, Even more so with dubbed, but I still think with subtitles, you do lose so much of the film. You do lose a lot of the feel of the film if you can't understand exactly what's going on when looking at the screen, because your concentration is almost taken elsewhere. Even with dubbed and subtitles and subtitles. Now, subtitles is going to be the most honest way of watching this film, I think, because it's a much more direct translation rather than dubbed. But I think even with that, the strong point of this film was scenes like that you knew what was going on. You didn't need subtitles. You didn't need the dubbing. It was there, very clear for all to see. And that as only it shows you how strong I think the opening part of this film was.
Yeah, just out of interest, when you watch the dub version, what was the voiceovers like? Was it done really well, or was it done in kind of the classic American?
It was.
New
It
York
was.
accent?
They did sound. They did sound from the east. Let's put it that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice, because it's always awful when you get a film like that, especially a film such as this, when they put so much effort into the props, the scenery, and the choreography, and the script as well. That they go and ruin it with one of Western, whether it be like British accents or American accents, and over on these Chinese people, especially when it's like 859 AD, and they've got American accents. It would have just torn the film apart, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It would have torn the film apart, and I think this film definitely caters towards that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon audience, and it takes itself quite seriously along the way, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And
Have you seen Crouching Tiger at all?
Yes, a long time ago though.
What did you think of that?
I really enjoyed that. Now, are you going to ask me which film you think is better?
Yeah, you got it.
I couldn't tell you, but I'd have to watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon again, because I think it's that close.
Okay, that's fair enough. But in the dance scene, she's, as I say, she's dancing, and at one point, because she's actually matching every beat that he's firing out, he throws all of them, and they hit every single drum, and the cinematography of this, the way you actually see the beans flying through the air. Again, a lot of thought has been put into how this has been done, which makes the scene look even better. You're so kind of involved in this scene, and it's, as you said, it's only kind of 10 minutes into the film, possibly not even that, until you get something like this thrown at you, which is great. And as they're dancing, she uses one of the sleeves to grab the sword that Jin's got as he's sitting down, and she tries to kill him with it. And that's how, at the end of the day, she gets captured. And when she gets captured, the police take her, and obviously they know that she's blind. And the reason why they got so much interest in her, because they talk about how they've gone on different missions, like the police have, to capture some of the members of the Flying Dragons, and actually killed the leader, which they believe is May's father, because they say that he's got a blind daughter. So they use May, they set up a plot so she can escape, and Jin's going to be the one who breaks her out, and they're going to track her because they think obviously she's going to go back to the Flying Daggers. They can bring an army and take them down, and then they've got a certain date. And I don't know, I can't remember why now they've got a certain date until they need to take them down, and it will basically give the government some peace, because these are the major players against the government, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, they are, and it was this big mission, this almost undercover mission, and you kind of, I know you said the storyline was simple when they're discussing this mission between the obviously this will be Jin and Liao, or Leo as it has, isn't it? When they discuss the mission, you kind of guess where this film is going, especially if you read the very short plot summary anyway.
Yeah, but it's interesting because we'll call him Leo because it's a lot easier. Leo says to Jin that this isn't the game, and he keeps repeating that, doesn't he? That you must take this seriously, and you get the impression that Jin is a bit of a player. He's a bit of a ladies' man, and you get to see later on that he's a very accomplished like swordsman in his martial arts, hand-to-hand combat, but he's also someone
who doesn't take rules that serious, who could jeopardize his mission just for the fact that she's an extremely attractive woman.
Yeah, and I think and the biggest example of that is the way he talks about the way he compares himself to being the wind.
Yes, yeah, and they kind of set you up there of possibly what could happen and the way it goes. And so he breaks her free, and they're going through the forest. And again, it's only shortly minutes after they set her free that there's another fight scene. And it's very clever the way this is done, because I think you get 6 soldiers who go after her, and she's actually on her own. And you think that their intentions are to basically kill her, which is a bit puzzling, because you think, well, if they broke her free out of prison, why are they going to kill her then? Because that defeats the whole object. But you soon learn that it's not really as it seems. And this sets up another scene which has been done in other films with regards to the bow and arrow. I mean, it's great choreography. I mean, she really, really holds her own, doesn't she, in this fight scene? She's got 6 guards trying to fight.
Yeah.
And she does well. She holds them off for quite a long time and kicks some major ass.
I mean, she is innocent, the main character in the film. The film revolves around her. So altogether, with her blindness and the fact that obviously, I think she used to be a dancer back in the day rather than a martial artist, despite being in a number of martial arts films, which obviously really helped with the choreography. And if you didn't believe the character of May could do this and she was blind, I think the whole film would have fallen apart. But it didn't, and it's to the detriment of her, because she's, say, like the spine of the book, the thing that holds the whole. She's the thing that holds the whole film together. If she's not believable, the film wasn't going to work, but it did.
Yeah, definitely, and I think Jin's part as a rebel sympathizer who set her free also really works, because she's basically surrounded by these 6 guards, and it looks like her time's up. That's it. And from a distance, he fires these 6 arrows, one after the other, and it's absolutely fantastic, because you see the arrows flying through the air from the point of view of one of the arrows, and all of a sudden, all of these 6 guards get hit by the arrow simultaneously, and they all go flying through the air, and it just looks so cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. It's a really, really good scene. I mean, and it's not the first time he saves the day as well, or the day saved by someone in I don't want to say similar fashion, but yeah, it was really, really, really good, and you did feel yourself cheering almost inside.
Yeah, and it's only when May and Jin leave the scene that the 6 guards then get up, and you realise how proficient Jin is with an arrow, that he's actually fired it through their clothes, and that they're all alive, and it was a ploy to try and gain the confidence of May.
So do you think then, obviously, where the film is going, once you saw that, you believe it at the time, but do you think after watching the film that she knew something was up or not? At this point, I mean,
she must have known from there that something was up. In hindsight, because you kind of what she saw. I mean, you don't know that she didn't turn around and look to see all the guards getting up again. If she didn't, then possibly, she would have known, because straight away she saw Jin at the palace being a policeman, and she saw him pretending to be a rebel sympathizer. So that must have kind of sown the seed that she's got quite a rough idea.
So she must have known something was up.
Yeah, because obviously she's not blind and she can see what's going on, can't she?
Mm.
So, and again, that leads to the next scene where you kind of, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I mean, I'll ask you, that they're by this lake, and they start to rest, and he says to her, "We need to get dressed so no one recognises us," and he pretends to not watch her get undressed, but he is, because he's a bloke, and even back in 859, blokes were still perverts back then. And he went to after he watched her get undressed and get in this bath, that he goes and meets Leo, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which was really, really good. And I kind of wondered now whether, if she saw him leave, and whether she saw him meet Leo in the forest. I really don't know. But
again, we find out that some other characters in this film aren't who they you believe them to be, and they're not the role they're playing, and which is another part of this film which I really really like. 'Cause it keeps on changing. But so they meet, or Jin meets Leo, and they're discussing the plan basically and making sure, because you see that Jin's tried it on with May, and he wants to know whether he is falling in love with her and how serious he is about this mission. And again, he points that fact out that you can't fall in love with her and you can't kiss her, you can't be all over her. This is strictly about the mission. And it's only at the end of the film that you realise why he's actually saying this, and it's not for the reason that you actually believe. And again, after the film, when you look at these kind of lines that they have and the meetings between Leo and Jin, that you kind of work out there's so many different layers to him of why he says these things to Jin, which I really, in retrospect, you can kind of appreciate them even more, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a double entendre. There is a hidden meaning, and it's a case of this is one of those films where now, since once you finish watching it, you can watch it again, and you will find a lot you missed the first time, not because you weren't paying attention, but because you know the plot now and you can see all the clues, as you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's great because you kind of it takes maybe a couple of days and working out what's actually happened and thinking about the film. You think you kind of continue to appreciate it even more, which again is I really really like. So they leave the forest, and another nice part of this, and again I think it's the whole scene of where he genuinely is falling in love with her, is when they go through the field of flowers, and she says to him, "You promised me like we'd see flowers," and he goes and picks her a bunch of flowers, and I think now that he is starting to fall in love with her. Do
Yeah.
you, or do you think it's all
No.
part of his
I
game?
kind of felt, well, I mean, is he playing? Yeah, because you can still think he's trying to make her fall in love with him, but I do think at this point you definitely start to question. Okay, is he falling for her now? Rather, more than just like at the scene down by the lake, more than just wham bam, thank you, ma'am, kind of thing. He's obviously, yeah, and you can look at it both ways. I chose to think, as you did, to start to think, okay, yeah, he's starting to like her a lot now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you go from the perspective of not liking Jin because he's double crossing someone who, at that point, you believe is blind,
Mm.
and then you start to think, well, they really are good together, and they're both lovely characters, and they're falling in love, and they seem so happy together, and you want them to escape, and you forget that it kind of is his mission initially, and you just want everything that's good for him, don't you? And you kind of change sides completely, and it's done so well just due to their acting, which kind of speaks volumes about this. Because when I was watching it, you start thinking, well, he's such a cunning little bastard, and he's tricking her. And one, it's out of order. Two, that she's blind, and three, he wants to take down the Flying Daggers who are against his corrupt government. And then you get to a point where you forget about all of that,
You do,
and
don't
you
you?
care about
Yeah,
both of them, and you think, well, why don't you two just run away and escape and just be happy together because you seem so good, which is really strange.
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. It is, and well, in hindsight, you don't really. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? But there you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. And again, whilst they're in this field, it leads to another scene, and I really really like this. It's I think it's you either think it's stupid or you don't. They get attacked not by the police now. They get attacked by about 8 members of the army, don't they?
Yeah,
Army, there's soldiers who come.
and it's for real now.
It is for real, yeah. And Jin finds it out much to his detriment, where one of them actually goes to or cuts him with his sword. But it's good the way they turn up in formation, don't they? With their swords, their arms stretched out behind them, and their swords, and they're all going in a line. I mean, it's very kind of regimented, what you'd expect from soldiers of that era. I mean, it's done absolutely fantastic. And again, the clothes they're wearing and the wardrobe of all of these people is brilliant, and it's such a good fight. It's really, really quick as well, and that's what we were saying about when again Enter the Dragon, when you've got a Western actor who's a martial artist against someone who's from the East. It's very slow and it kind of it's a bit clunky, really. But the fight scenes in all of these are so quick, aren't they?
It is, yeah, and I can't help but feel it wasn't really until things like The Matrix, and with Jet Li's arrival, more so than maybe than Bruce Lee's, that you had Western films actually start. It wasn't until the 2000s that Western films started taking that whole the way they shot it and that fighting style a bit more seriously, and it started to develop in their own films. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, look at the way the Bourne series does some of their scenes of fight. I'm not obviously comparing it to this, but I do think it was a lot of. We need to give a lot of credit to the East for some of the fighting films since. I mean, The Matrix being a very good example as well.
yeah, and the choreography in this is fantastic. I mean, again, it's sword fighting, it's hand to hand combat. Um, and when one of the soldiers goes face to face with Jin, he says, "Look, it's me," and he doesn't believe him, does he?
No.
He says it's like there's a bit of a Star Wars line where he says, "You're rebel scum,"
Yeah.
and he slices him with a sword, which makes him believe that this is actually real, and now they're fighting for their lives, and they do get surrounded, and at some point, all of these pieces of wood suddenly fly out, and they go into the back of all the soldiers' necks or heads, and they kill all of them. And Jin instantly says, "Is that the Flying Daggers?" And even May says, "No, it's someone else. I don't know who that is." And that person disappears.
Mm.
And it's
Does May know who it is at that point? Do you think?
I wondered that. I wondered whether he kind of played his card a bit too quick, mentioned the Flying Daggers, and she was onto him then, or whether she knew because they come from such a distance and there was such precision. I had a feeling she did know. Did you think that, or did you?
I think so. In hindsight, once again, I think she must have known. I mean, she definitely knows a lot more than she puts on, which is obviously very good for her character. But
Yeah, and I think that Jin kind of spoke about the Flying Daggers after that incident too fast to rather show the appreciation of someone actually saving their life.
yeah,
He was a bit too keen to name a possible source of where it came from. But then they go into the forest, and they rest. And again, you find out why she says this. That he wakes up and she's going to leave, and she kind of makes up these reasons why she wants to go off on her own and leave him there, saying that I don't take your affection seriously.
and this is
And
when he talks about being the wind again, doesn't he?
yeah, and he can't understand where this all came from, because when they were in the field, they were rolling around making love to each other, and everything was really happy. And now all of a sudden, she wants him to go, and it's only later on in the film, which is very sad, that you realise why she wants him to go, which has been done in quite a few films, but it doesn't take it away of how well it's done in this film. And then they go, she leaves, and this is another part of the film which is absolutely amazing and worth looking on YouTube. They go, she's walking through this bamboo forest on her own, and this bamboo forest, it's done so well. Again, the bamboo plays such a major part in this film, not only as props, but just in the scenery and the colour. It adds a real atmosphere of its own, doesn't it?
This was one of my favourite scenes, along with the whole set piece right at the beginning of the film with the dancing and the fighting. This is my other favourite scene in the film, and I think it was absolutely brilliant the way the bamboos were done. People were flying through that, and I know you kind of like, you know, take it kind of up with a pinch of salt, the fight scenes, but you do believe, I don't know whether it is, that what they were doing is almost possible, and the way it was done and the way it was shot was so brilliant. And bear in mind, I know Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon has I'm not saying it's the same fight scenes, but like similar to kind of set style pieces. But it is, you know, you hardly see anything like this ever, and that's why I really enjoyed it. It was amazing.
It was. It had so much atmosphere. I mean, she's walking through the bamboo forest, and she sits down, and suddenly bamboo leaves come down, realizing that someone's there.
Yes.
And up in the trees, there's dozens of soldiers.
And I thought talking about you mentioned obviously the trees falling. I thought that was such a good way to build up tension. You knew something was going. You knew something was happening. She knew something was happening, and you still think she's blind. She senses it. You kind of sensed it, but you weren't too sure what, obviously, until it pans up. And you see all those. And I thought that was really, really good. Building up
and she's
to it.
still keeping up this act of being blind, even when she's on her own fighting. Obviously, she knows who these soldiers are because she can now see them, but she still keeps this face on, doesn't she? That she's a blind person. She doesn't play her hand. I just think, well, I'm on my own. Like, sod it. Let's just fight. Let's just be myself. And it's interesting that she still stays blind. But you see them throwing bamboo through the air. The bamboo splitting the trunks of these massive bamboo trees, and it's all done. It's really fierce. It's really fast and frantic. But it's just so good. And she's running through the forest, and again they surround her. And she puts up a real good fight and really, really kicks some ass. There's great choreography where she's got this big bamboo trunk.
It's one of my favourite. I said it's one of my, one of the two favourite scenes in the whole film for me. It's brilliant the way the different ways they use the bamboo as well, like spears, and then she uses it when the bamboo starts to come apart a bit and flays at the edges. She uses it to grab onto people and twist them around. I think it was just brilliant. And the fact is that this has all been done with bamboo.
Yeah, and what's nice was that you didn't get the Enter the Dragon sound effects after each punch.
No,
and each kick. It was just done so well. As I say, she takes out quite a few guards, but they just keep coming and coming and coming. And then she gets surrounded, and you think that's it. She's had it. And again, Jin turns up, and he saves her life yet again.
And she's very happy about that.
Yeah. She obviously knows it's him, but again, she keeps on the facade of being blind.
Yeah, because I think, sorry to interrupt you again, Stu, because I think even though she knows that she, in hindsight now, she didn't want him there, it actually shows that he actually cares about her because he came back,
And you get to find out the reasons why, because she is starting to, or she may be already in love with him and have these feelings for him, but she doesn't want to put his life in danger.
No.
And again, they really, really do kick ass, don't they? And it is a great scene where they're surrounded, and the way they throw these bamboo kind of branches at them, it pins them like a mini cell to the ground, doesn't it?
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's really good how that's done. And I like the fact that they still stretched out and try and hold hands as well when they kind of, when we're all thinking how they're going to get out of it. How they're going to get out of this, and the characters obviously thinking, it's all over now.
Yeah, and as you were saying earlier about it was kind of first came onto the scene of Crouching Tiger, where that people appear to walk through the air. I mean, when the soldiers are after them, and they kind of dodge this evil trap, it reminded me of First Blood, where there's all these bamboo shoots have been cut from the ground, and they're all spikes, and he saves her from falling onto these spikes. And again, she doesn't flinch. It's not. She makes out that she doesn't actually see these spikes on the floor, even in the face of danger. You look up in the trees, and you get the view from their perspective on the ground of these soldiers literally walking through the air at the tops of these bamboo trees. And I mean, I watched it with my better half, and I said to her, "What do you think of these people flying through the air? Do you think it's too much, or do you not pay attention to it?" And it didn't really bother her, but to me, it was as if, in kind of their mind, in May's mind and Jin's mind, that these soldiers are moving through the tree so quickly, it's almost as if they're walking through the air.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like I take these kind of things as an interpretation. You know what I mean?
Well, you've been quite deep this evening, Stu, I must say.
I'm been quite deep. I've been on a course today, and it's taught me how to be quite deep. But that's the kind of the way I see it, because otherwise you either ignore the facts or you read too much into it, as if these soldiers, no one can walk through the air, no one can fly, and it's got to be kind of their interpretation. I mean, what do you think when you kind of see the soldiers, or do you not really pay much attention?
No, I mean the walk through the air thing, it didn't bother me. But you using all that bamboo and the way they're doing it, I thought that was absolutely fine. I didn't question it at all.
No, it was great, and again, it leads to another scene which is majorly exciting, which gets you cheering again and out your seat. Is where they're about to die, then all of a sudden, you first see these three figures all dressed in green, and they've got they're kind of like long green gowns, and again, it's really beautiful colours, bright green that match in with the bamboo, and they've got their kind of traditional like Asian round kind of hats on, haven't they, with a point on
Yeah.
top, made of like woven bamboo or straw. And they're just standing there, and they look, and they're kind of their heads are down, so you can't see their faces, and they look so menacing, don't they? They don't say a single word. And I mean, what did you think when you saw them? Did you know who they are? Did you
Yeah, I
know that the
figured. I
Flying
figured
Daggers?
because I mean we're now what 2/3 to the film almost now, and you kind of figure that's going to be the Flying Daggers, and obviously the minute they get the daggers out, it's confirmed, really, isn't it? Yeah, but it didn't take away from the set. I really really liked it, and I thought okay, and not a plot twist, but another plot development is okay. Where's it going to go now?
Yeah.
After they basically completely ruin this, all these people,
Oh, it's
saving.
so good, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's done really really well, and it's again it's something strange that you don't see in other films. They've got the ability, and hence in the name of the film, to throw these daggers, which are in a kind of a machete kind of pouch that they keep them in, and the daggers fly through the air, and they've got a kind of mind of their own. They can manipulate where the daggers go, can't they?
yes,
And the daggers cut through each of the bamboo shoots and take out all of the soldiers literally at the same time, and they all fall from the sky onto the leafy floor. And it's so kind of dramatic, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant.
yeah. It's a lovely set piece, and yeah, as I said, up until this point, and one of my favourite scenes in the whole film.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So from then onwards, that they kind of believe that obviously Jin can't believe it because he's found the flying daggers, which was a part of his mission, but he's at a bit of a crossroads, as in he probably now doesn't want to give up the love of May and play his hand and mean that she'll die along with all the other flying daggers.
Mm.
But they don't really capture him. They take him back to the house, and they find out that the madam of the brothel, and where he's at the start, he believes, and she makes out that she's now the leader of the Flying Daggers, and that he'll be a good suit for May, and basically says we'll arrange your wedding, and you can be with her. And whilst he says that, Leo's brought in all tied up and says that all the other soldiers have been captured and killed, and Jin's been captured, and they know who he is. And then the extra surprise comes in that May walks in, dressed in the Flying Daggers outfit, and pours a cup of tea for her leader, and she's clearly got sight. And you kind of think, wow. I mean, what did you think of that part?
I mean, you almost had two complete plot twist screw jobs going on you did have in one scene, didn't you? It was almost too much to take in. You're like, oh my god. I mean, and this the poor guy that was falling in love with May kind of like had his world turned upside down at this point, hasn't he? He realised his mission was a complete farce. He's been set up by obviously both his what he thought to be friend / colleague, and obviously this woman he thought at the time he loved, which we find out he still does. It all does.
Yeah, it turns out that Leo is actually engaged to May, and instead of being taken out to be executed, that he demands to see her, and that he's been in the government for 3 years, undercover, to find out what their plans are, and he's actually a member of the Flying Daggers himself. I mean, and again, that was a kind of an oh my god part when I first watched this. Of this film just keeps twisting.
Yeah, but so was
around.
So was the older woman. The woman was part of the Flying Daggers as well, and she was at the beginning, wasn't she?
Yeah, again, it's really, really good the way it's been played out so well, wasn't it?
Yes, it has.
That just when you think you know what's actually happening, another character's revealed to either be a part of the government who you didn't think, or he's a flying dagger and he's been undercover in the government, and it's then that Leo, his heart's basically broken, that
he discovers that May is actually in love with Jin, and he's heartbroken because all this 3 years that he's been undercover, to him have been a complete waste of time, because whilst being undercover, he's not been able to get close to May, and he's been away from the Flying Daggers, and he sent Jin on this mission, and he's fallen in love with her, and she's fallen in love with him, and he's absolutely destroyed, isn't he?
Yeah, you do kind of feel for him, don't you? Quite badly, actually. Yeah, he's kind of been screwed in a whole different way as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite sad, really, because you pleased when he's revealed that he's actually a Flying Dagger, and you think, yes, like he can help take them down, like the government down, and then you're kind of kicked in the nuts about 30 seconds later when his heart's broken, and he explains that he gave up virtually all of his life, and he was engaged to May, and at some point they were obviously in love, and he's lost it all, isn't he? He's got nothing now.
Yeah, just like his colleague, his world's falling apart.
And then he can't accept that, so he jumps on May and tries to rape her if he could, and then one of the Flying Daggers turns up. It's the actual the leader, and throws a knife in his back, and he says, "Keep that knife in your back and go and find the soldiers, and because they'll believe that you've been attacked by us if you keep that knife in your back." And he's outed from the Flying Daggers, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he pretty much is. For doing that. I mean, I didn't like that scene particularly. I didn't like any of the lovemaking scenes in this. I don't know why. I don't know. They just grossed me out.
But they weren't actual lovemaking. There was no.
No, it wasn't lovemaking. It was the closure of the face. You had them kissing. There's a lot of kissing faces and stuff, and it just looked. I just felt it was a bit strange.
It didn't really bother me. I have to say, I thought it was all done really well. I think it would have ruined it if the lovemaking scenes would have been.
Oh, I didn't want full on porn, but I would have rather that. What I would have rather have is just an implied lovemaking scene. Like they did, like in the 50s and 60s films, you know, they kind of kissed, had like a nice romantic kiss, and you kind of like it was up to you to find out what happened, because the next scene is them waking up in bed or something like that, you know. Rather than
I suppose. I mean, through the lovemaking scenes, you a couple of times you got her rejection of even Jin, didn't you? So
yeah, I mean, maybe it was important. Maybe it was important to do that, but I think you could have done that with a simple kiss rather than have this soft, cool, I don't know what you want to call it on the floor. It just looked that whole thing was one of the few things that looked, one of the only thing I think that looked kind of like really unnatural in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you think that, and that we kind of divided on that, which is interesting. But so she's ordered, again, put in a very difficult position by the leader to go and take Jin out and execute him. So she does take him out, and again, it's very similar to what happens to Leo, that they talk about, why don't we just go? Like, this is only going to end in defeat, and that if I have to face you as a member of like the government or the police, like one of us will kill each other, and you kind of don't want that to happen, but you kind of see it as their destiny, really, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't want it to happen. That is very true.
Yeah, so she basically tells him to go, and she accepts the fate that the next time we meet will be on the battlefield, and one of us will have to kill each other. And he doesn't want that, and neither of them want that. And I don't know why they didn't leave. I really wanted them to leave, but you kind of wonder where they're going to go, because they're told that the soldiers are coming, and there's a huge number of them to fight the Flying Daggers, who aren't frightened of the government coming, are they?
No, but you do wonder. I know we didn't really get much of that scene, but I did wonder. I was like, well, how the hell are the soldiers going to win against the Flying Daggers? I mean, they took out like quite a number of your soldiers already, and those soldiers clearly didn't have a clue. So
no, you don't see really how many Flying Daggers there are, and in hand, you don't really see how many soldiers are coming to them. You don't. No. It's not like you see a massive horde of soldiers coming over the mountain, and there's like 500 of them or anything like that. But when they do turn up, there is only about 50 of them, isn't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, they'll probably throw 50 knives, and they'll all get their asses kicked probably.
But so and it's quite a nice moment because she tells Jin to go, and he does go, and you see him reluctantly get on his horse, and just basically waits in the forest, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got very mixed emotions, and so is she, which is really really nice because she gets on her horse and she decides, like, yeah, you're right, we're going to leave together, we're just going to run away and be happy. And it's awful because you see the journey he's taken and like the fields and the forests and everything, and you then follow her, and through going through the same scenery, you get to see how close she is to him, and he's going back to her. He has a change of mind as well as he's going through. She's going through this field, and it's the field that she went in with all the flowers where they kind of their love started really. She gets taken out with a knife right in the heart, doesn't she?
Yeah, yeah,
One of the flying daggers.
Yes, 2 knives. Funny enough, because she blocks the first one.
Yeah, she blocks the first one. Yeah, she throws her sword, doesn't she, and stops the first one. But there's 2 knives. You're right. And when these knives were thrown, did you know who was the like?
I had
Who
a very
threw?
good idea. It's the whole "if I can't have you, no one will" kind of
Yeah,
cliche.
I mean, when I first watched this, I thought first of all it was one of the it was like the flying daggers who have been following her, who knew that she was gonna like leave. You know what I mean? They were gonna stop her, and I was, because I'm pretty thick, I was really surprised to find out it was Leo who, as you just said, that if no one can, or if I can't have her, no one can have her, and you basically think that she is dead, and Jin turns up and finds her, and finds out that Leo's done it, and he then realizes because of the knife that he's a flying dagger as well, and what, the fight they have is such a furious, angry fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I wasn't a massive fan of this fight. However, what I can appreciate is I like the fact that it started. Just before it started, almost like in the summer, autumn, and ended in the winter, almost so to speak. Kind of like telling you how long this fight must have gone on for, giving you the impression, and it was the most physical fight. In terms of physicality, for these 2 actors, and in the film, I think between these 2 people.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this fight. I thought, I mean, it's not for the choreography, but because they're just kind of lashing at each other. They're just slugging it out, aren't they? But for what it's really done for out of pure feeling, because as you said, the change in season from fighting into the summer, and then it goes into the winter and it's snowing. Again, they do a lot of these things as in reflection, don't they? That they hate each other that much that they're quite happy to stand toe to toe for as long
Yeah,
as it takes. And the change of kind of weather and season is a reflection on the hatred and the love that the hatred they got for each other and the love each of them have got for May. And they're cutting slices out of each other. They're getting up. They're cutting more slices. I mean, it's not a graceful fight, but they're just slugging it out, aren't they?
it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. There's not much. It starts off with very disciplined. They're using their technique, and at the end of all technique is lost, kind of thing, and
Yeah.
it is just almost a slug match, you know.
Yeah, and the one point before that, she even says to him, "This is why I left you. This is why I wanted you to go." And and it is because she has fallen completely in love with him, and vice versa. And it's a really sad bit at the end. But May gets up. She's got the heart. She's got the knife in her
Yeah,
heart.
I thought she was
And
dead until prior to getting
I
up.
did as well. And even though she's dying, she still looks stunning. I have to say, she's probably the most stunning corpse I've seen in a film for a long time. And so Leo pulls this knife, and it's one of the flying daggers, and he knows that his time's up. May knows that once someone throws his knife, especially from the flying daggers, that you've basically had it because it's got a mind of its own. And she says that if you throw that knife at him, I'll throw this knife at you. And if she pulls a knife out of her heart due to loss of blood, that she's going to die. But again, it's
a reflection of she's willing to sacrifice herself for Jin, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's such a nice scene, that.
See, I hated this bit. This is the worst part of the film for me.
Why is that?
Oh, she died. He didn't get the girl. I didn't like it. I hated it. I hate it when that
Did
happens.
you cry?
No, I didn't. I was close to it. I was very upset. I was very upset, and
That's
I went from very upset to really annoyed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it was strange. And I kind of I wondered why. I kind of couldn't work it out. But Leo kind of flicks his hand, and it makes the sound as if he's thrown a dagger. So she pulls the knife out of her heart and throws it at him, doesn't she?
Yes.
And I can't remember. Oh God! Does it actually get him? I can't remember.
No, I can't remember now. I realised what was going on, and I was just so annoyed that she was going to die.
I don't think it actually does get him. No, it does get him. Yeah.
I know the film pretty much ended with obviously Jin on top of May crying, essentially.
Yeah, no, it doesn't get him, does it?
Because he wanders off, doesn't he?
Yeah, her knife just falls to the floor, but it's the kind of final reflection of, I would have died for this man, and nothing can actually beat that. And sadly,
that's nice.
And sadly enough, it takes her dying for no one to have her, for Leo to actually finally see that he's been beaten, and no matter what he does. And I think that's the kind of tragedy of this film, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, and it does say a good point. But I can't hate it when things like this happen. Very rarely do I like it when the good guy doesn't get everything.
I kind of think I like the ending. I really do. I mean, it's kind of some of these films you watch when like the hero dies.
I hate it.
No, I mean, have you seen Man on Fire with Denzel Washington?
Yeah, I didn't like that bit either. I think it's a very good film. I still
spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Bit late now, but
yeah,
I like that.
He dies
when the hero dies at the end. Have you seen Man on Fire? Spoiler, by the way.
Yeah, it's a bit late, but I thought that was quite fitting that he died because, again, he saved the girl and he'd done what he needed to do, and the baddies couldn't do any more to him, and he had nothing to live for really. And again, even though they both did their love together and their future, it didn't bother me that she died. It was very, very sad because I thought she was fantastic, but it was it fitted. It didn't really spoil the film for me, and it
spoiled the film for me. It spoiled the film for me, and I hate watching films that have a sad-ish ending. I don't mind watching them once, but it will stop me watching the film again.
But it's a love story, isn't it? It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet, isn't it?
It's tragic very similar love story.
To that.
And that's the biggest negative about the film for me. But it's because I'm completely uneducated. But the thing is, when I watch a film, I watch for escapism. Yeah, and I want to enjoy it, and I want to come away feeling, oh, that's really, really good and stuff like that, really, really good. And when things like this happen, I can't take away it's a good film, but I leave the cinema, I leave obviously the DVD player, iPad with a bad feeling, and I hate that when I finish watching the film. Yeah, because I watch for escapism. As in, take me away from the real world. I don't want to see people dying. I want to see the guy. I want to see the hero get the girl. It's all happy at the end. Thank you very much. I'm very much and they happily lived ever after person. Yeah. Unfortunately.
No, it's fair enough because I think when they do die in films like this, it kind of brings a sense of realism to the film, and I quite like that because you kind of in your mind you can think, well, this could have played out as a true story, and forget that people obviously flying through the air, but that the love's tested to the extreme where she was willing to sacrifice herself for him, and it kind of played out that it could have almost been true, and I think due to that, you can well believe it, and you can it's easier to accept, and that's why I didn't mind the ending of this film. But
okay. I mean, most people I imagine are going to agree with you. Yeah.
I very much doubt it.
I think I'm with. I mean, he got a 7.9. He got a very high rating on IMDb. But for me, that was the massive negative about the film. Not okay, but I can appreciate that the film is the film is very, very good.
I mean, the film made a bundle of money, and it was nominated for many awards, and it got a 20-minute standing ovation when it was premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. So it was really well received. But I mean, so that really is, in a nutshell, quite a quick version of House of Flying Daggers. And for me, I love this film. I'm gonna have to go and watch Crouching Tiger now, just because I haven't seen that for a long time, just to compare the two. But I mean, I'll give this film 4.5. And
Really, 4.5. So four
yeah,
and a half. 4.5.
the reason it's 4.5 is because it's just such an amazing film in itself. The scenery is just incredible. The costumes, the choreography, the acting, and that. And for me, I don't know if it's because I watched it in a subtitled version, that you really get into the characters, and even though you can't understand what they're saying, it's said with such feeling that you really do buy into it. And it is just so good. The scenery is just amazing. It really is on its own. And there really aren't any negative bits for this. It wasn't slow. There wasn't too much dialogue. There was lots of action in this film. And it was just a really, really good film. I'd recommend it to anyone whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm a great fan of this film.
Okay. For me, see, I almost want to give it too much. If I was writing a review on this film for a website and for people, I'd give it a 4. Yeah, because I think I can see why it's a very good film. Me personally, I'd give it a 3.5 simply because I didn't like the ending.
Really?
Yeah. It stopped me watching it again. I watched Man on Fire once. I really enjoyed it until the end. I can understand why it's that. I just don't like. I can't accept sad endings to you. That's why it's really very few films. I will watch again because of the sad ending. Rocky, for example, being one of them, because it isn't. He doesn't get everything in the end. There are very few films I watch that have any a bit of negative bit towards the end. It's a really sad thing. It's probably taken from my childhood reading too many Disney books or whatever. But there you go. But if
But not that I want to barter on the scores at all. But if you, but I am anyway. But if you took away the personal aspect of what you don't like at the end of films and taken it,
if
just
that
for a
is Happily
film
Ever After,
itself.
it would probably be a 4.5 to 5. Easy.
But what about if you just took it as you don't mind the endings of the film?
I said, if I
itself?
was actually writing a review on it, say like if I was actually writing a professional review, let's say, for a magazine or for a website, that's part of my
Or
job.
for a podcast.
Or for critically, see, I never do this. I never sit on the fence, but I am, and it's not very comfortable. But I'd give it a 4 out of 5 in terms of it's a very, very good film. Me personally, just the ending took away that bit of the complete enjoyment after what was it kind of like Django'd me, but not quite. It's not bad as Django, but it just gave me a bitter taste at the end. I can understand why, and with you saying what you said, it kind of makes sense. She made the ultimate sacrifice and he lost it, and that makes perfect sense, and that's why. Critically, I've got no problems. I can understand why you gave it a 4.5. I'd probably give it a 4, but I don't like the fact that they died, which is why, me personally, which is the reason why it's really, really sad.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. I mean, if we all agreed, it would be a very boring world, wouldn't it? But
I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm really, really glad I watched it, and I really enjoyed the film up until that point.
Did you watch it on your own, or did you watch
I watched it on my own, naked, on a bed.
Oh, that's nice. I love all that. That's the best way to watch it, apparently.
It
so
is.
I've read on the internet. But yeah, so that's the film. I mean, as usual, we know what we're doing next, don't we?
We do. You decided it was The Campaign.
Yeah, we thought because of the elections going on in America and the circus involving kind of Donald Trump and all the other candidates, that the campaign with Will Ferrell will be the next film that we do. So that's another film that you haven't
never seen that. No.
Yeah, well, I've only seen it once, so I can't really remember it. So it'll be interesting to watch it, not find out your point of views, and just go for it on the podcast. Because normally it's strange, because when we have normal conversations when we're at work and when we're chatting on the phone, it is virtually like
the podcast, isn't it?
You know what the other one thinks about it before we do the podcast most of the time.
Yeah, but we kind of speak in podcast format anyway when we talk about any film, and we'll go into detail of it, which is quite comical. But I'm really looking forward to doing that, and we'll have the luxury of Flaro as well to do.
Look at that, fantastic stuff. So there you go, boys and girls. That's it. That's it. House of Flying Daggers has been reviewed.
Exactly, and please feel free to recommend this show to your friends if they like superheroes or if they like any other films. Send us a request, and if we can get hold of the film, we're more than happy to review it. And yeah, it's just great fun doing this, and I hope you can sense that we really enjoy doing this. Follow us on Twitter at the Film Realcast, and we're on Facebook as well, and loads and loads of podcast formats you can find us on now. So we're very fortunate. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll do another one next week.
In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with